So the next structure we're going to be looking at is the ear. So the first thing you should notice is the auricle of the ear, which is part of the external ear, which goes from the tympanic membrane to the outside part of your body. And so this part here is also part of the external ear, which we call the external acoustic meatus, and that meatus ends at that tympanic membrane that you see there, that people typically call the eardrum. So those structures are part of the external ear. So now we begin the middle ear, and so that includes these auditory ossicles. Remember, there's 3 of them. You have the malleus here, the incus here, and the stapes here that looks like a stirrup. The other structure that's part of the middle ear is this tube here, which we call the auditory tube. So the auditory tube and the 3 auditory ossicles make up your middle ear. So now we are going to look at the inner ear, and that includes this spiral structure here, which looks like a snail shell. That's your cochlea, and then these 3 canals here, which we call the semicircular canals. So what I will do now is I'll zoom in and blow up that structure, and this is it, right? All right, so the cochlea and your 3 semicircular canals. So the 3 semicircular canals each have this enlargement. You can see one there, see one there, and the 3rd one you can see there. So these enlargement parts of the semicircular canals are called the ampullae. Right, so you have 3 of them. And then another part of the ear that you see is B here, and that structure looks like a G. So this one here is your uticle, that one's your saccule. Uticle, saccule. The other structure that you see that's not on the lab manual, but will be on the exam, are your windows. Right, you can see a window there labeled A, and a window there labeled C. So A has a shape of an oval, so we call that the oval window. C there has a shape of a circle, so we call that the round window. So oval window, round window. And remember, the oval window is where your stapes is covering. All right, so the other structure that we're going to be focusing on is this area here of the bony labyrinth. So that's your vestibule, and then we have the cochlea here. So if you take a look at the cochlea and cut it in cross section, you'll see that there's many structures repeating, and what you'll see are the ducts kind of repeating. And so you can see the ducts there. So you have 3 ducts. You have a green one, a red one, a blue one. So we'll look at a better model of this, but just note there's 3 ducts here. And so this blue one looks like it's your cochlear duct. The red one there looks like your vestibular duct. And the green one there looks like your tympanic duct. And we'll go over the reason why we think that is in this model here of that structure. Right, so this here is representing your cochlea. And so as you see here, you see this major structure here, which we know of as the organ of Corti or spiral organ. And you'll see that you have the hair cells here, these bristles that are part of your organ of Corti that's resting on this structure here, which we know of as the basilar membrane. So the organ of Corti is part of this duct here, which is represented by 19, which we know of as the cochlear duct, which again is filled with endolymph. And there's a structure, this white structure here, that's separating the cochlear duct from this duct, and we call that structure there the vestibular membrane. So therefore this duct here, number 2, must be your vestibular duct. So that leaves us one last duct to identify, and it's this one here, which we know of as the tympanic duct. So your tympanic duct, as well as your vestibular duct, are both filled with perilymph, while your cochlear duct here is filled with endolymph. And you can actually see a nerve coming from the organ of Corti that's detecting sound, And that nerve there is known as your cochlear branch of your vestibular cochlear nerve, cranial nerve 8. Right, so that's the model of the ear. If you wanted to look at real life representations of the auditory ossicles, you can see that here, where that's the malleus, that's the incus, and that's the stapes.